just talk this one through. Its cranium is actually pretty big. You know, there's a pretty good room for a brain there. So we can think this is probably a fairly smart animal. An animal that uses some creativity, that figures things out.
And it can probably kind of a hunter and really fast, I bet.
How did you know that? From the orbits. The orbits are facing forward, especially compared to like on a moose skull, they'll be way over on the side. So the orbits are facing, that this is an animal that has good binocular vision with the two eyes facing forward, and probably a hunter. And probably, if it's a hunter, do you know a word for an animal that eats meat mostly?
Predator.
Carnivore. Predator is another word for hunter, and carnivore is for an animal that eats meat. So, pretty smart. It's got eyes facing forward. This sagittal crest is actually where the jaw muscles are attached. And so the bigger the sagittal crest an animal has, the stronger its jaws are. And that can tell you several different things. Like, if you're a critter that just catches like little mice and voles and squirrels, do you need super strong jaws?
No.
Not really. If you're an animal that likes to like find a dead moose and chew on it after it's frozen, do you need strong jaws?
Yes.
And so scavengers, animals that like to come after and eat on animals that other animals have hunted, and also animals that hunt big animals, big prey. In this area, the foxes aren't that shy. They're kind of used to seeing people, so we get to see them a lot. These are actually the same species of fox. They're both what's called a red fox, but red foxes come in lots of different colors. This is the one we think of when we think of red fox, and many of them are this color. But then this one is called a cross fox. Some people say that's because it's a cross between a silver and a red, and other people say it's because it actually kind of has a cross on its back. See that cross of darker fur across its back?
Yeah.
But these could be in the same family of foxes. They could be in the same litter of, because it's so dense. And because it actually repels water, like when water goes on it, the water doesn't soak in as much. So, remember how to pass the skull? All right, I'm going to pass the skull this way this time.
Yes.
And this one, I don't even know if it's the same jaw from this one. It doesn't seem to fit very well, but still. And then I'm going to pass that hide. Yeah.
I should have brought my brother's tail, then people could feel. It's like very hard.
I tried to skin a beaver tail once, and it was really needs strong jaws because it's a scavenger. It does a lot of scavenging. It'll find a frozen moose carcass, and it has to eat through that thick skin and then chew that frozen meat up. They don't do a lot of their own hunting, but they go around and find things that other animals have hunted or things that have died, and they eat them. And in the winter, that means it's frozen. Sagittal crest, thank you. I have a wonderful assistant here. And then the molars. Once again, they're big and strong, aren't they, on this one?
Yeah.
They're really big, much bigger than the fox's molars, right? Okay. So if you think you know what this one is, raise your hand. Okay, and you've been very patiently waiting. What do you think it is?
A wolf.
Wolverine.
I know that is.
Yeah.
Why do they call it a wolf?
It's not related to a wolf very closely at all. It's actually in the same family as a weasel.
Yeah, because
And a marten and a mink and an otter. That's what family the Wolverine is. Is it in the same family as a lynx? No, that's a cat.
It's the same as.
I don't know if any of you know Dave Wellman, who lives right down the road here.
That's so big.
And
I might know.
he put together this bear skull. It was a bear that was hit by a car, so we actually know a lot more about this bear than our other animals.
Wow.
It was hit by a car years ago, and Dave Wellman, he got it from Fish and Game, and he skinned it, and he cleaned the skull, which is a huge job, and glued it back together. You can see the glue here. It was glued back together because it was hit hard by a car. Yep. And then Fish and Game took some teeth and did some studying about it, so we know this was a 6-year-old male bear. So it was, yeah. Yeah, it's a grizzly bear. They get that way. So compared to the foxes, the rest of its skull, the brain is pretty big. This, compared to the rest of its skull, not as big. So this is not, bears are not the smartest animal you ever met. And that's not anything against the bear. It's just they don't have as big of a brain. So what's next? The orbits.
The orbits are long.
They are facing forward. They are hunters. A bear is. And the sagittal crest, this one's so interesting. Look at how tall that sagittal crest is. That's the sagittal crest right there.
It's like as big as the Wolverines.
Yep, compared to the skull. Always compared to the size of the whole thing. So they have a really strong jaws. And you know that bears don't eat only meat, they also eat
Blueberries.
blueberries, and in the spring, one of the only things for them to eat is roots. And so they will dig and tear with their mouth to get down into the ground to get roots. And so they have a lot of reasons to have a really strong jaw. This is the one that's most interesting to me though, is the bear's molars. Whose molars do these remind you of?
A person.
A person, exactly.
So it's omnivorous.
Omnivorous. Yeah, good job. Yeah.
It technically eats leaves and meat, so
That's
A bear will
omnivorous.
eat, a bear like us will eat almost anything. They eat meat, they eat fish, they eat berries,
eat trash.
they eat roots if they can get them,
Blackberries and
which is
trash.
kind of the equivalent of eating some
They
bread
trash
or a
the can
potato or a
find it.
carrot or something. They are,
Monkey goes and
yeah.
look at those eyes. Bear.
It's big, isn't it?
Bear. Feels
This
just
is
like
only a
a
7-year-old bear. It's not.
Also very
But they're not sharper.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at my
Oh,
nails.
okay.
No, actually,
That is
no, people pretend those are. My hands still.